Okay, so welcome to the next session, and in this session basically we are going to discuss that how to develop a training program. Okay. That is the second part of the design, because once you have looked into all the considerations related to the design of a program, then you go on and develop a training program. So, what we are going to discuss is that how to develop a training or program or an HRD intervention. Okay. So, now if you look at this, the first task is that you are going to select a trainer. Okay. As I discussed earlier also, that trainer could be from the same organization, provided you have a training system or training organization, or you can outsource the trainer. The basis for selecting a trainer is what? Is competency, right. So, if you find that you have a competent person as a trainer within the system or the organization, then it is all right, and then you also look at his background, his experience, his past record in training, right. So, if you have a training department in a big organization and you have been doing this job, this can be interested to them, because in that way they would be able to deliver a training program in a very cost effective way, because you are not going to spend lot of money on this purpose, right. But if subject matter experts or the trainers who have to deliver a program in a specific area is not available, then you go for outsourcing it, right. Are there other conditions that you can do is that you train your people to become trainers, okay, because you need to develop expertise either within the system or you outsource them from outside, right. So, it is very very important to select a trainer who could deliver the results and in a very effective way, because if you are not in a position to deliver results, then irrespective of who your trainer is from inside or outside, the program is going to not succeed, right. But if you think that subject matter experts are not available, then you are going to outsource these kind of activities. So, selecting a trainer is very very important. Then we move to the next part, is if you are not in a position to provide training on a regular basis in a classroom setting or in a physical location, then another option that you have is that go for a computer based training, right. In a computer based training, what happens that you are going to train people on a mass scale, because everyone will have access to say internet and computers, and they are going to learn at their own pace and time and speed also, right. Now, this computer based training is very very popular today. So, that has become a very good option these days, because of the facilities of internet and communication that has come up today, and many people are going to learn lot of things. For example, even if you look at these courses that is being offered online, okay. So, you can learn even computer languages, okay, even behavioral skills, because these kind of programs are being offered, and you can learn at your comfort, okay, and at your speed. Okay. So, these are some of the benefits of the computer based training, and this is the most effective way to learn, right. So, you go for computer based training these days, right, and the other option is, as I told you, is training of the trainers, where you are going to training experts to become the trainers, right. So, selection of the training is very very important, and then accordingly decide whether you are going to have an in house or out house training program. Moving next, we will discuss that how we are going to prepare lesson plan. Okay. Remember, we talked about the design document, and where we said that okay, you are going to identify the objectives, then you are going to see who is going to be audience, but the most important in a training program is the content that is to be delivered. So, when you are going to develop a lesson plan, you have to see that what are the things that you need to deliver within a given time frame, using the kind of methodology that is going to be appropriate for learning, right. So, when it comes to preparing a lesson plan, how do we go about it? So, you have to decide about the contents that is to be covered, right. You remember, we have been talking about this time management program in the last session. So, if you are going to talk about time management, right. So, in a time management program, what could be the content? So, you have to identify that what are the things that you are need to cover. Okay. So, you are going to talk about the basics of the time management, why time management is important, why you should be able to effectively utilize your time, what is the purpose of having this kind of training on time management, what are the benefits and these kind of things that could be discussed. Then another content could be related to identify time wasters, right. And here you can go for a structured exercise that could be a part of the method. This could be used as a lecture. So, you are giving a basic, and here you can use a exercise and ask each participant to identify what are the time wasters, okay. Then why they waste their time, the reasons. Okay. Then next you can ask them to develop schedules. It could be on a daily basis, it could be on a weekly basis, right. So, once you are able to identify your time wasters, you know that what are the things that you need to do, what are the things that you do not need to do, right. Okay. Then if you want to be really productive, then you have to develop your own schedules based on the requirement of the job and see that what else you can do, right. So, you must learn that how to develop good schedules on a daily or weekly basis, so that you can schedule your activities, okay. And then here you also need to develop a strategy when you are developing your schedule, and this is what we know as time management strategies, that how to do certain things in terms of importance and urgency, right. So, the trainer is going to explain you the concept of importance and urgency in terms of time management, and what are the things that needs to be taken up. Then you can also talk about procrastination, okay, that how to avoid procrastination, that is delaying attitude, right. So, this what I am discussing here is the part of the content, because if this content is to be delivered, then accordingly for each one of them you are going to say that what kind of methodology you are going to use to deliver these contents, right. So, when you are going to prepare a lesson, first of all you identify what are the contents that is to be covered in a training program, right. Then you are going to activity sequencing, which activity will come when. So, this is activity number 1, this is going to be 2, this is going to be 3, this is going to be 4, this is going to be 5, then you can have other activities. Okay. Accordingly, you plan what are the different activities that you are going to cover in a day. Then which method will be used? Media, okay. Whether you are going to have audio visual, whether you are going to lecture, whether you are going to have business games, whether you are going to have simulations. So, you decide depending upon what you want to deliver. So, basically what you want to deliver is going to see that what kind of method would be appropriate, right. Then finally, what are the different activities that you are going to take up, whether you are going to have certain games, whether you are going to have role plays, okay, or you are going to have certain exercises. For example, when you ask them to go for identify time wasters, so ask them, okay, you tell me when you go to the office at 9 o'clock and up to 5 o'clock, what are the different activities that you perform? All the activities, you go for an exhaustive list of all the activities and see how many of them are productive enough and how many of them are not productive. What are the things that you do which does not contribute to productivity? Okay. So, in that way you will be able to identify those activities which are not productive enough or which can be curtailed. So, you will be able to identify your time wasters. Now, how much money you are, say how much time you are spending on internet activities, gossiping, tea, coffee, lunches, okay, and see that whether you can go for it or not. And when it comes to scheduling, you have to see that how to go about prioritizing. Okay. So, you have to see that what is more important, you do it first, what is less important, you do it later, right. So, you need to be trained on these activities, and then you have to see that sequencing of activities is very important for conducting this kind of training program. Then timing and phasing of the activities. Okay. So, which activity is to be taken up at what time, right. Then what would the method of instructions, as I told you, whether it is going to be a lecture, case, okay. And for example, a case could be given if a person is wasting a lot of time in doing other things other than related to his job, So, your job is to be go through the case and identify what are the time wastes in the case, or it could be exercise on your own. You can see whether how much time you are wasting out of 8 hours that is given to the, and how much what is your productive time, right. So, these instructions basically are designed are taken up based upon what is the content that is to be delivered, right, and then how this we are going to evaluate. The evaluation does not happen immediately. So, what you need to be done is that once you are able to do it, okay, you conduct the training program, allow the person to make use of this on the job and see whether he is able to save time, whether he is going to be more productive, whether he is able to save more time for doing other things or not, or is still doing the same things in a similar way, right. So, that is how we are going to examine the effectiveness of the training program, right. So, in effective lesson plan, what are the various features? Okay. What is objectives, target audience, prerequisites, what if they have any, time, and each lesson have its own outline in the sense, okay, what are the various topics that is to be covered, in what sequence, and what are the various activities that is to be taken up. Okay. So, when you are going to design a training program, it must mention all these kind of things. Okay. So, the development of design and development of a training program covers all these features. Okay. Starting with objectives, target audience, prerequisites for both the trainers and the instructors, trainees and the instructors. Okay. For example, if you are going to offer a technical program in Java, is there any prerequisite to learn Java? Okay. Suppose you want to offer a program on C++ to a set of trainees. Okay. Is there any prerequisite? So, maybe C programming may be a prerequisite for them. Okay. So, you have to decide whether the target audience has the requisite set of knowledge and skill base to understand what is to be delivered in a training program or not. That is very important. Okay. In case of general management programs or behavioral skills, no such prerequisite is required. When it comes to technical training at certain levels for senior managers, they have to have certain prerequisites, otherwise what will happen, they will not be able to offer programs which is going to be useful for them, right. Then once you have decided about these kind of things, they will proceed further, okay, and look at lesson plan that is given here, okay, where everything is discussed very clearly, okay, starting with the course title, right. So, the program is about how to conduct an effective performance feedback session, right. Okay. And this is for the managers, because they are going to conduct feedback sessions to identify your audience. So, they are going to those people who are involved in evaluation of the performance, right. So, once the course title is decided, that basically you are going to conduct effective performance feedback session for managers, okay. And the idea is that how you conduct it in a better way, so that you give feedback which is going to be helpful to the supporting staff, and they are able to better plan their performance for the next cycle, right. That is the basic objective of this kind of program. So, using the problem solving style in the feedback interview. So, basically your concern here is that you are going to see that how are you going to conduct the feedback session. There are different methods of conducting feedback. Okay. You simply call a person and tell, okay, this is what your feedback is, simply communicate the feedback, or you ask them, okay, how is your performance, and then you give your feedback. But both these methods are not good methods. So, you go for a problem solving approach of feedback, where you ask them and try to find out the reason that why this kind of feedback is achieved, right. So, the person is able to understand what is his level of performance and what he needs to do to improve, right. So, this is the kind of a skill that managers need to develop, and that is why this kind of program is actually developed, okay. And it is a full day program, the length of the program is mentioned. Now, what are the learning objectives of this program? Look at this. The learning objective says that you have to learn certain behaviors, specified key behaviors, that is 8 in number, use this in the problem solving style of giving feedback without any error, okay. And then you have to demonstrate the 8 key behaviors in an appraisal feedback role play by without error. So, here you also talk about the method that you are going to use. It means that you are going to use role playing as a method to demonstrate that how to give feedback, right. So, once you demonstrate it, you expect them to modify their behavior accordingly, and then you see that whether they are able to play that role effectively in order to learn how to give feedback, right, and that is how we proceed. Then the target audience is the managers who are basically engaged in evaluating the performance. What are the prerequisites? There is no prerequisites, because all managers need to evaluate the performance of their subordinates, right. Then the instructors, what are the when we are talking about the competencies of the instructors, what they should have in terms of the skills and knowledge base. Okay. They should be aware about various methods of feedback, like tell and sell method, tell and listen method, and problem solving approaches. Okay. These are the three major approaches that is used in giving feedback to the supporting staff. So, the managers should be aware about these three methods and how they are going to make use of these three methods in giving feedback, and they should also know that which method is appropriate for giving feedback and under what conditions, okay, and how they are going to how it is going to be evaluated. Okay. Room arrangement, a common room, any room, okay, where you have basic facilities. So, you need to enable a physical environment which is going to be conducive to the learning, and then you are going to have certain materials, like you require a say recorder, and then you also require a projector, transparencies, tapes, okay, or CDs today, okay, and you also need a role playing exercise sheets. Okay. So, these are the learning materials that would be required, or equipments that would be required to conduct this kind of training program. Okay. So, why the role play has been selected as a training program here? Because this is the most effective way to deliver training in this context, because when you are giving feedback, you need to demonstrate to the learners that how to give feedback using three methods. So, they understand the differences across these methods, and they are able to adopt the best method for giving feedback to the employees. Okay. And it is if you are using a role play approach, probably that would be the best approach here, right, and that is why I have given this example of a lesson plan. See how it goes about, okay, in terms of content and other things. So, you are also giving them certain reading materials, like conducting effective appraisal interviews. Okay. So, they have to come prepared by reading this article, so that they understand the basics, that how role plays are being conducted, right. Then once they have gone through these articles, then they are going to come to the office, okay. And here look at that how the lesson plan has been devised properly. Okay. The idea is to have a detailed lesson plan, is to ensure that all activities are taking place within a given time, because any training program is a structured exercise, right. So, there should not be any time overrun, right, and people are able to learn those things. Now, if you look at the lesson outline, so the first lecture could be presentation, and here learners what they do, they are going to listen to you maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and then they are going to view certain videos which basically talks about these three kind of methods: tell and sell, tell and listen, and problem solving approach. So, they are going to watch these videos, then you are giving them a break, so that they can comprehend what they have done in terms of watching the videos. Then you go and go for discussing the strength and weaknesses of each style. So, the trainers, the role of the trainer is to facilitate the process. Trainees are going to participate in the process. Okay. So, you go for a discussion at length about each kind of method and see how effective it is. The idea here is to engage trainers to make them understand various methods, its advantages and its disadvantages, and the context in which these methods can be used. Then you are going to have a lunch break, the time is specified. Then again you go for presentation videos of those behaviors which are required in a problem solving approach. Okay. So, if you look at the activity and the sequence of activities, it is logically connected. First you give an introduction, then you talk about various methods, their advantages and disadvantages, and then you specifically talk about the problem solving approach, right, that how problem solving approach is going to help you to give an effective feedback, right. And then you are going to have a presentation and the video session, and then again you engage them this kind of exercise, and finally you ask them, once they have understood this, finally you ask them to play the role. Okay. So, there could be two persons, say you have a supervisor who is going to provide feedback. So, he will have all the details in a role play, and then is going to be a subordinate, okay, whose feedback is to be given by the supervisor, So, in this role play there is going to 2 seats, one for the observers, okay. There could be other participants who can act as a observer, and there are going to be 2 players in this role play. One who is going to play the role of a supervisor. So, he is going to enact as a supervisor to give feedback, and the other person is going to be a subordinate who is going to receive feedback, right, and they are going to have a discussion about the feedback related to the performance. Okay. So, this may go on for about 25-30 minutes, and then you can reverse the process. What you can do, you can ask subordinate to act as a supervisor and supervisor to act as a subordinate, and then see what is the difference, right. So, this role play will make them understand that how effectively they have been able to give feedback based on the knowledge and skill that they have gathered through the lectures and the video presentations, right. And finally, you have a discussion at the end of the session. We are going to wrap it up and see what comes out, and see whether people have really been able to understand and appreciate this problem solving approach, and whether it is going to really help them to provide good feedback, because if you are able to provide good feedback using problem solving approach, it has certain advantages. What are the advantages? It will help people to understand their strengths and weaknesses, and it will also help them to plan about their future performance activities, right, and that is the objective of this kind of program. Now, moving further, this is a lesson overview of one particular day. Okay. Now, this is how it is to be planned. So, very specifically the time for each activity is outlined, starting with introduction, watching the videos for different feedback sessions, break, then strength and weaknesses discussion, then lunch, then again presentation of videos of problem solving, and then role plays, and finally wrap up the question answer sessions, and then the program ends, right. So, this is how we go about doing or conducting a program. Now, when it comes to methods, so we will have a detailed discussion of method in the next session. Okay. Here what we are going to do is that I am going to tell you that what are the various methods that are used for conducting training, and what are the different kind of media that could be used. When you look at the percentage, basically it tells you, okay, these are the different methods and the frequency of their use. Still classroom instructions is the most popular method. Okay. Then we move to self study or computer based training, then job based performance, then seminars, case studies, role plays, simulations, self studies, conducting classes online or virtual classrooms. Okay. Today we have computer based simulations, experiential learning or virtual learning. So, these are the different kind of methods you can see that is being used by the organizations, and the frequency of their use is also mentioned here, and different kind of media is used as a supplement to make the training program more effective, like you have manuals, guidelines, using internet, extranet, internet, using different kind of electronic devices like CD, DVD and these kind of things, tapes. You go for teleconferencing, video conferencing, or you can go for even satellite or broadcast TV, like you know that most of these programs that is being offered online, okay, is being telecast on satellite TV. Okay. And there is a number of platforms, I think around 13 platforms which are regularly communicating or telecasting these kind of programs on a regular basis by the national TV, right. So, apart from these training methods, these are different kind of trainings that is provided. Okay. The areas basically like computers, which has come up of late, very important, okay, related to growth development, change management, problem solving, okay, time management, training of the trainers program, okay, diversity related programs, how to recruit good people, strategic planning, how to educate customers, quality and process improvement, public speaking, basic life work skills, ethics, which has of late has become very important. Okay, sales, wellness programs. Okay. So, these are the different kind of programs that is being offered by the industry and also by the outsourced organizations. Most of the actually consulting organizations or research institutions or even management and engineering institutions offer these kind of programs on a regular basis. Okay. Some of them could be customized, okay, based on the requirement of the organization, and some of them are general management programs where people can go and attend by paying the fees. Okay. So, these are the different kind of training programs that is offered. Then these are the methods that could be selected, methods could be selected based on what you are going to deliver. Okay. As I told you when I was discussing about the time management program, that basics can be discussed using a lecture or presentation method. Okay. Then when you are going to ask them to identify say time wasters, then you ask them to go for exercise, a structured exercise, right. So, the selection of the training methods basically depend upon what is the objective of the program. Okay. For example, if you remember we were discussing about giving feedback. So, for feedback giving we have used a combination of two major methods, that is presentation, videos and role plays, right. So, the video is the media that you are using or other media, electronic media, and similarly you are using a role play as a alternative method for better understanding. So, the dependence of a method is basically related to what you call the objectives, what you need to deliver. Suppose you simply want to pass on certain information, so you go for presentation method because you simply pass to information, but when it comes to experiential learning, then you need to engage them in role plays, games, simulation and these kind of things. We will discuss that in detail at a later stage. Okay. Then whether you have all kind of resources in terms of time, money, okay, finances and these kind of things, what kind of trainees you have, because training methods also depends upon the trainees, their knowledge and skill base, what kind of method they would like to prefer, right. So, it all depends upon these kind of considerations when it comes to identifying the training methods. Then what kind of training material is to be used, program assigned announcements, you have brochures, outlines, manuals and textbooks, reading materials, consumables, training aids. Then finally, you come to scheduling a training program. So, when I am talking about a scheduling a training program, you have to see that it must be done in conjunction with the production schedule. So, that production is not going to be affected, right. Sometimes suppose people are working in shifts, so those shifts where they are free, they can go and attend a training program provided it is in house, but if it is outsourced to them and they have to go outside of the factory of the premises, then you have to see that how you can schedule the program, so that productivity is least affected or their job is least affected. Okay. Then for shift supervisors you have to see that how you are going to do it, then work supervisors and managers when you are going to conduct the program, because scheduling is very important, and the trainees, okay, because you have to look at their timings and their schedule, and accordingly you are going to decide when they are going to conduct the program, so that other activities which they are performing is least affected. You can also conduct training during non working hours, I suppose when they are free, maybe weekends also, okay, or the weekdays when they are free, okay, or maybe evening or forenoon. Okay. So, it all depends upon, suppose you are going for on the job training, then it has to be done during the working hours only, but if it is off the job training, then it could be done on weekdays or after the work hours or even on the weekends also. So, you have to decide when you are going to do it. Okay. And then you also take care of other activities if you are going to do it after working hours. Okay. So, you need to compensate them from travel, board and all kind of things that you need to look at, and then you have to make sure that people are really committed for doing these kind of things, and especially for shift workers this become a problem, because matching the shift with the requirements of the schedule is sometimes become difficult. Then other issues comes out, basically that is registration, enrollment in the training program, that you need to provide all kind of information and communicate with the potential trainees, that okay, that is how you are going to do it, when you have to do it, and where you are going to register yourself for a training program. So, this announcement is made by the HRD department, and it is communicated to all the trainees who requires training and how they are going to do it, and then you also look into other aspects provided it is outside in terms of that board, lodging and other kind of things, transport, that you have to see that it is managed well, so that these are not going to create a barrier in the learning, right, because if they are going to engage in these things, then probably they will not be able to concentrate and focus on learning activities. So, this should be taken care by the organization, and ultimately I am going to conclude this week. What we have discussed is that the most important is the design and development of the training program. So, when you are going to design it, make sure that objectives are clear, who is the trainer, how you are going to devise and develop a lesson plan, what kind of method you are going to discuss, we have not yet discussed, but we are going to discuss in the next module. What kind of materials you are going to use, reading materials, electronic materials, okay, and you must schedule it properly. So, if these things are taken care, probably you will be in a better position to design and develop a training program more effectively, right. Thank you very much.